My name is Sarah, and today's book review is on Jade Fire Gold by June C.L. Tan. Non-spoilers, I give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. We are introduced into a far-off world where there is war both inside and outside the country, as well as a mysterious group that is like, no, people that wield elemental powers like, Last Airbender style. They are bad, and they are what's causing the land in our country to go bad as well. As well, there's this thing called a life steer that could possibly end us all or save us all. So what shall we do? I have suggested, how about we just leave the country and go to the other ones that are like, okay, as long as you're cool, we're cool, bye, and leave everything else to everyone, because I would not want to live in this country, maybe the world, but not this country. Yes, people, we have our main characters on, who is a village girl living on the outskirts of a desert that used to be a very great, green, lustrous place until a curse that basically fell upon the world, and as over time and slowly aged it into a desert on the far end. Not really a good place to live. As well as Alton, a mysterious boy who's been on the move ever since, adapting to a nomadic life, but he has his own secrets as well, and it all connects back to the throne that rules this country and what he must do to fill out his vengeance and his goals, people. So basically I can say is that for those of you who are fans with Last Airbender, of course, if you kind of sprinkled that in with the Untamed, you're kind of getting the gist of what happens in this series. The characters, I kind of felt meh about the main characters until we finally got to know a bit more about them. It's like, cool, awesome. I also enjoyed the side characters, which were a trip. I was like, can we get a little bit more of them? Because I really enjoyed them and their story arcs as well. The main plot of this book is that An and Alton have to retrieve a sword that can possibly lift the quote-unquote curse that's causing the land to slowly die and become desert-like. So they kind of have to put their differences aside because they need each other to find the sword, as well as the evil forces behind the throne. They're also looking for this, as well as basically bringing more fear into the country and possibly expanding their territory to the other countries that we get a hint don't really like us. I understood the threats level in a way. I just didn't feel as scared. I really knew the importance of the sword. It's like, okay, we gotta get the sword to make sure it doesn't fall into the bad hands. But when they came to the baddies and the end result, I was like, that felt a little too wrapped up easily for me. I get that the crew is like life or death situation, but I felt like it was kind of wrapped up too nicely in a way. Still a good story, still a good journey. I enjoyed that very much. It's just the end result, what happened, I was like, meh. But the ending, though, the ending, are we getting a sequel? Because if not, that's the worst tease in existence. So June, I demand a sequel. Please, please, pretty please, madame, I humbly ask upon you, will you be writing a sequel? Because if we do, but the things that I kind of wanted in this book, I really hope happens in the next book. But until then, for season 1, this was a good read. I enjoyed it. It touched up on some of the things I'm familiar with, and I really enjoy from dramas that I do watch. The world was really interesting. I was intrigued, but I do not want to live in that country. Maybe the world, but not the country. I enjoyed the fact that I got to know them better, which made me more attached than I was in the beginning. And again, I really did enjoy the side characters. They made the story and the journey very, very good. And again, the baddies, when it came to the plan, I was like, oh no, good story. I enjoyed the read. For those of you who are fans of The Untamed and Word of Honor or any other Chinese dramas that are in that category, you will enjoy this. It's a good, I would say, first season. If we get a book 2, I will be over the moon. Until then, I will have to stew over that ending. But yeah, and that's as far as I can go into non-spoilers. Jade Fire Gold by June C.L. Tan. 3 out of 5 stars. Bye, non-spoilers. Shoot. Spoilers. Like I said, she lives on the outskirts in the desert area of the Shi Empire. Things aren't looking so well over there, especially when we get news that kind of slowly trickled into the village out there that the current emperor has passed away. And so we're wondering, will the crown prince be any good at replacing his father? We are also introduced to a friend of hers, Legal, and I felt very disrespected because I wanted to see more of this dude. But it's like, no, when On leaves the village, that is the end that we see of Legal. If we see him again, please play more of an important role in the book, next book. But we also get a feel of the magic system and the consequences of being found out by the what's called the Do priesthood. And that's because while we're in the desert and On and Legal are getting some water, they meet a girl that's marked with a traitor brand, and that's how we see the brutality of this priesthood for those who are the Tensei, the people that can wield magic, as well as those who hide and are allies or friends of a Tensei. They are tortured, brutalized, and sent out as a message, while the Tensei are hunted down and killed. So because of this fear that's been ingrained into this society for so long, On has understandably a negative reaction when she sees that this girl's marked with traitor. She's afraid because she knows that she's also Tensei and she's afraid of her abilities, while Legal basically points out, this is wrong and we should help. But again, this has been a idea that's been ingrained so much into this world that I can understand the fear that On had, because first of all, she doesn't remember much of her past. She was found by her grandmother, her ama, and she doesn't know anything. So when she knows that she's Tensei, she has this fear inside her of both the priesthood and the fact that she is this thing that everyone was always saying bad. So she's trying her best to hide it, meaning Legal does not know she's a Tensei. Another thing adding to On's fears is that Ama, she's really sick, and the only thing that has her tying her to her past is this jade ring. So again, when she's thinking of selling the ring, I'm also thinking, it's a jade ring. Surely that would hold some importance, and that would mean someone would be like, where did you get this child? Because again, she's a peasant child who got fired from her job because of owners and reasons. So I was like afraid they might report her and someone will investigate, and yeah, that's not fun hanging over our heads now, is it? And this is like basically the beginning chapter. Now we go on to Altan, which again felt very info dumpy, and the best way I could describe it is how Thousand Autumns, when Shin Chao was having his amnesia and we had to explain all of the sex and everything. Well, that happened again. I was like, okay, I am ready. I got my notes down. Let's go. So we get the info dump of Altan, who he is, and the group that he is affiliated with. Ahem. Altan is the former emperor's son, the rightful heir to the Shi Empire, and when his father was murdered, we understand he was murdered, his mother and his twin sister, they fled out into the desert, but they too were caught by the enemies and they were killed, while only Altan was the one to survive. We also had a prologue that introduced Altan because we know that there's this phoenix that we're looking for that could possibly help him with his wish, and what that is to find the life stealer, get an ability that will prevent the life stealer from basically stealing the life, and to finding a sword that will help reclaim his throne. Awesome! Simple enough, right? Well, let's go to those that he's affiliated with. He is the disciple of Master Sun Temu, who is part of the Sun Clan. He is also a cultivator, as well as a Tensei. Cool. And we're also introduced to Tang Wei, who shows up to see Altan's like, you're slipping. She is a good friend of his, as well as a trained assassin from the Lotus sect. Her master is Elder Hong Feng, who is the leader of the Lotus sect. She is also a cultivator and very good friends of Master Sun. And she sent Tong Wei out to keep an eye on Altan because Master Sun and Tong Wei's master knows he's gonna do something stupid, so keep an eye on that. And when we're getting all that, that was those double paragraphs that was like, oh! So yes, we have mentions of sex out there, And Tong Wei is there to keep an eye on all Tong. Yeah, he's gonna do something stupid, and she's gonna be there to tell his body when he's like slowly dying. I told you so. So there's the info dump right there. And it continues because we have a spy in the palace named Ling Shi, who is Tong Wei's girlfriend, and we are getting information that a bunch of things are happening inside the palace. There are reports of possible poisoning of the emperor, either by the empress or by his own son, the quote-unquote crown prince Tai Shun, because, you know, he has an interest in the medical arts and experimenting with things that could be poisonous. So, and that's Altan's cousin. So he's remembering when Tai Shun was like a really good boy, but it's like things have changed. It's been 10 years. He could no longer be the person I remember. On and Altan's path crosses because he has to go through On's village to go find the Phoenix to get, you know, the info to get the sword. That's the same day On is thinking of selling her precious Jade ring to get medicine for Ma, and of course Altan sees her stealing. He's like, are you sure about that? And they have this cute little moment, and they're having, you know, walking conversation, and it's like, okay, cool. They meet each other without, you know, knowing that they're supposed to be the ones looking for each other eventually. So that's kind of fun. That's a little hint. While Tong Wei leads Altan away, and they think we'll never see each other again. Have a nice day. Be careful stealing now. On goes to the pawn shop, but she has a moment of hesitation wanting to sell her Jade, and she sees a sword, and she's thinking, I could take a few jewels off of that and sell those, keep my sword, keep my ring, and get money for Ama. So she steals the sword. The person trying to sell the sword realizes it's gone, and they chase after On, and she gets cornered. And of course, she's afraid for her life, and she knows that her abilities are starting to act up, but it's not the one that she's familiar with. And that's when she life steals from the guys getting ready to kill her after stealing the sword. So she, as the life stealer, basically sucks out the life, and the guys mummify. That's how they are dried out. And On is like, oh God, what did I do? And she runs, leaving the sword, understandably. But we have a problem because the priests, the Dio priests, they're in town too. So it's only a matter of time before they get a whiff that a Tensei just murdered 2 people. So, yeah, the threat level is starting to creep up on us, people. On makes legal swear to her to protect Ama. It's like, okay, you need money? Cool, just wait here for a minute. I'll get you enough money to send you off. I promise to take care of Ama, I swear. But again, the threat level kind of rise because the priests did get wind that there's like Tensei around, and they're causing us pain, people. We cannot have nice things, now can we? Especially in a poor village out in the middle of nowhere that are minding their own business. No, the priests have to cause a scene, hurt a girl, and, you know, threaten to basically kill this girl unless the Tensei reveals themselves. And of course, Ligo wants to be a hero and tries to save the girl, but, you know, On sees that and she's like, no, it's just I. And they're like, okay, prove it. And one of the priests is like, she confessed, let's take her. And that's the last that we see of Ligo. I was very disappointed. On isn't killed right off the bat, which she thought she would. So again, sus level raised. But we find out that she is being transferred to another carriage, to another group that's going to the capital. Huh? She's also being guarded and watched by a lieutenant. So, And he's also telling us that we are going to the capital. So I'm with On. What's going on? And we also get a little information that we're being summoned to the capital by Premier Xiaoyang, who was a former general. Now he is a high-ranked person in the court, and he's also known as the Emperor's Shadow, a person that Altan was really wondering, what is the Emperor's Shadow doing? So now we know a supposed baddie of great power and influence wants On. So, interesting. We're also attacked by a group of Tensei who want to kill the Lifestealer because, of course, over history, the idea of a Lifestealer is really bad, even for the Tensei, and they want to kill her. But that's when On is protected by a priest named Li Yi, who showed more compassion than the other priests that enjoyed hurting people as well. Just don't really like On. So Li Yi saves her. He throws a fireball, and they escape. We're going to the same area, we're going to the same destination, we're just taking a different road. But again, on this note, she can trust Li Yi because of course he's a priest. After treating An's wounds, and we're still going to the capital, Li Yi explains the story, because we know that there's a story between the White Jade sword and the Obsidian sword of legend. It was always believed that these swords were, again, myths, but now that Li Yi is explaining to An that the swords are real, and only the Life Stealer, her, can find the White Jade sword, and this is the sword that we need to save the land, to stop the evil magic that the Tensei put on our country, and revive it back to its former glory, aka the same sword that Altan is looking for and going to the Phoenix for answers. So again, when we're explaining this, and we're explaining that the priesthood is like to help with this, I was like, I feel propaganda and a messing of history when Li Yi's explaining this, and he's like saying, no, we're the good guys, the Tensei are the bad guys, but I'm like, you're attacking the Tensei as well. And you're using magic like the Tensei, so it's like, I see blurry lines, and even on, she may not be, educated level, but she's enough to know, I know just enough not to trust you, and I am uncomfortable with this, but because I know I can't outrun you, I'm just gonna go along with this. So I'm with that on that, but it's like, I smell many fishy things, and I don't like the smell. Another fun fact, the great-grandfather of Altan, he was the emperor that basically set this whole thing in motion, and he used the Obsidian sword to begin this evil reign of the Shi Empire. So, fun fact, you might want to remember that. We make it to the capital, and when An is presented to the palace, she's given a lady, Lin Shi, that made me think after a while, oh, Lin Shi, meaning Tang Wei's girlfriend, who is a spy. So I forgot about that for a moment, but I was like, oh, okay, awesome. We're gonna take a break from An because Altan and Tang Wei have been traveling through the mountains, through the deserts, until they got to a certain set of mountains. The Wudin Mountains are where the Phoenix's bones lie, and Altan has to make this great journey up by himself, and Tang Wei's like, don't die, I'm gonna be back at the end, bye. The bones of the soul beast, the Phoenix, are at the Spring of Memories, or the Jiu Spring, and it takes Altan many days to climb this mountain on his own, so I'm like, I would have nuked, or I was like, where are my gear? But Altan makes it to the top. He finds the cavern where the spring is in, and that's where we see these weird dream dimensional worlds that the sacred beasts use to communicate with people, and this is one of them because a smoke kind of engulfs Altan, creating these hallucinations where he sees his family. So I'm like, oh no. And through these hallucinations, we have a memory with Taishun, who reveals Altan's true name. His name is Shin, and back then Taishun exposed his parents that were the ones that were going to murder Altan's father. So he kind of thought Taishun betrayed him, so that's why he doesn't trust his cousin. And we're thinking, okay, we're gonna break out the illusion, we're cool. But then that guilt, that darkness inside Altan is revealed when he sees his sister as she was back then before she died, and that's kind of what pulls him into further into the illusion. So I'm like, oh no, Itachi, save us! Back over at the capital, we meet Xiaoyang, who meets An, and is her father. Yes, she is Xiaoan. She comes from a very respectful family, and when her mother found out that she was having abilities as a tensei, her mother took her away, spiritually away from the father, and before he could go look for them properly, he had to go fight in the war, so that's why he was wounded that's why he has half of a mask, and he didn't know where to find An. So now we have a very touching family reunion. This is where my sus raised, because we have a man that just admitted that he was your father, and of course I get it. An has this in her thoughts, wondering what she wanted. Where did my parents go? Did they abandon me in the desert? Is that why Amma found me? And she accepts the fact that this man, he gave her many details about her past that kind of check out, but it's like she doesn't remember most of her past, and that's being said is on the mother's part because she was using something to block on Tensei abilities, especially as the life stealer. And it felt like someone might have taken advantage of that, and with that desperation wanting to know her parents, I felt like An would have latched onto that. So myself, I would have been suspicious of that, but An accepts that. Cool. But this is where in part 2 that I kind of like, I don't like this trope a lot. It's just a irk of mine. I'm like, oh no. Because after An finds out that she is Xiaoyang's daughter, long lost son, she wants to do best for her father, she starts asking Lin Shi to start teaching her the way of the court. Meaning, you know, how to act like a lady. And that complete immersement is what kind of got to me. Because when we were reading through An's point of view, we got an idea who she was, but the moment she starts learning these new things, the way how it was written kind of changed to where she's now really sophisticated, as if she was trained with this the whole life. I guess I'm saying is that the writing style that changed from her as she was in the village to her now living in the palace, it's like, I guess that kind of got to me. I didn't like that a lot, you know, just my personal irk, okay, that's all I'm saying. She's even accepting the fact that the Tensei are the one poisoning the land, when she at the time thought the Tensei were just these people that were being hunted down because the priesthood said they were bad. As well as the fact that Xiaoyang as well as Li Yi, they want her to find the Jade sword to stop the curse, and they ask her opinion of the Crown Prince. A Crown Prince she had little to nothing knowing about, and only just heard recent rumors, the fact that the emperor was dead. She automatically judges the kid without, first of all, knowing much about him, as well as like knowing previous rumors. So I thought that was a little too quick to act. But, you know, on the other side, Li Yi starts training her to try to use her life-stealing abilities. She's not really good at that, and she's still afraid of it, awesome. But she starts learning her other abilities, so she can, like, you know, do a little bit of wind, a little bit of water. Cool, but not what her father wants her, because they want her to go find the Jade Sword. And, of course, only the life-stealer can find that. Back at the cave, Altan does get a greeting by the Phoenix. And, of course, you know, you have to have that balance thing to, you know, make sure that everything is equal. So the Phoenix asks Altan questions, and he says he wants the sword to, you know, save the country, reclaim his throne. It's like, okay, I will give you what you want, which is immunity from the Life Stealer's ability, but in return, it may cost you more than you think. So again, the Phoenix is being a little cryptic. We don't know what that is, and she's like saying it will be a great heartache for you to what's about to happen. And he's like, okay, I realized everything important to me, what more can it be? But he gets the ability. Tong Wei sees him after he makes his way down to the mountain. She's like, I thought you died. Not yet. She's like, damn it, I really wanted to tell your corpse, I told you so. And with that mission complete, Altan and Tong Wei get a message to head back to the capital. Something is going on. So okay, we're going back to the capital. Our paths are about to cross again. And that's when we, like, you know, start to notice some things are weird going on in the capital as well. Especially when An meets the Dowager Empress. He's being really nice to An. Dowager Empresses, I just have this thing where I don't trust them very much. And rightfully so, because this one is the one that supposedly killed her husband. I'm just saying. And she's being very sneaky, trying to get into An's good favors. Because, you know, An, she's like, you know, trying to be a proper lady to bring, you know, honor to her father that she just met. But what my trust is like, don't trust Xiaoyang. My trust in Li Yi starts to waver because An sees him sneaking around and steals something from her father's room, and it's the map of the Emerald Sea, the very sea that we must voyage over to find the sword. So I'm like, okay, things are happening. When arriving to the capital, Tong Wei tells Altan about An, because of course she's getting information from Lin Shi, and they're like saying, you know, maybe you can trust her, don't get too, you know, must find the life stealer, get the sword, kill the life stealer, because, you know, past problems since his great-grandfather was a life stealer, and we know how that went for the country. But we also have a plan in mind, because An did tell her father about Amma, so he sent word out to go find Amma. So when Altan finds that, he's like, maybe we can find her before, you know, the people of the court do, because we know that Amma it's gonna be a key part to leveraging on no matter what. So like, as long as you try not to hurt her, while in the back of Altan's, it's like thinking, if I must, I will. But in reality, we shall go find Ama and make sure that she does not fall into the hands of the Emperor's Shadow, so we can, you know, have on our side. One of the things that the Dowager Empress asked us to do was for On to meet Taishun and just, you know, be friends with him. And we meet Taishun, and it's like, can we take him with us? Because he is precious. Poor Taishun. He knows that this wasn't right when he meets, you know, On. He knows that we know he doesn't want to be emperor. We know he's a really kind guy. We know he likes studying, you know, medical stuff, so that could be a really great help to the Empire. And he feels this really guilt about what happened to his cousin, to Jin, to Altan. And he wants to make up for it, but it's all going according to the plan of Mother Dearest. And he doesn't want to go do this banquet thing, but with On understanding his feelings, she goes, accompanies him. It's like, I know you're afraid of what people will think. And she's like, be damned what they think. So I'm like thinking, this moment of courage from On, I will take it. Because we go to the banquet. She's there with Taishun. She keeps her head held high while the Dowager Empress is like, all according to plan. And I was like, no, Taishun is a good boy. He's a good boy that needs saving. Can we take him with us, please? And we also find out through, you know, the banquet that, you know, all the people are talking to Taishun. They're all talking to On. They've got each other's backs. And she also gets his back. Like, say, hey, I think my father wants to see you. Bye, people. And everyone disperses. But I was like, oh, thank you for that save. And he sees who's there with, you know, the premier. It's Li Yi. And Taishun's like, no, I don't want to go see them. And they have a moment outside. And that's when we realize that, of course, they grew up together. Li Yi, Taishun, Jin. And through that, On realizes, oh, you like Li Yi. And he's like, but I know he doesn't like me. And being the future emperor, I have my duties, meaning marrying and having an heir. But we know, and On knows this is not what he wants. And it's like, hey, I'll do it. Because he asks, hey, do you want to go see a shadow puppet performance down, you know, without anyone knowing? And she's like, she understands how important that is. And we also have been having this weird dream about a shadow puppet performance that ends in nightmares for On. So I'm like thinking, maybe something will happen. And she's like, cool, we'll go, we'll sneak out. I see that you need this moment. I was like, yes, let's leave the palace. And what happens when we leave the palace? Our paths cross again with On and Altan, and they remember each other, and they have this moment to catch up, say, hey, how's everything going? Yeah, I'm here with some friends. Yeah, me too. I'm here with a friend. He was having a bad night, so we're here to see a shadow performance. Hey, same here. I'm here with a friend. She's here with her girlfriend. Don't say it's Lin Shi, though. And we're here to see the shadow performance. What do you think? The first one, I was like, I'm not a really good fan of that story. It's like, what? You don't like the fact that there's like a love story? No, I don't like the fact that she did get rid of the elixir, because we're talking about the goddess and the moon and the rabbit. And she's like, you know, they're having their fun little moments. It's like, oh, where are you going? Oh, I'm gonna give this to my friend. I don't want to leave him alone for too long. It's like, oh god, I'm in so much trouble. Hey, what? And they see Taishun is drunk on the ground because a bunch of guys kept giving him drinks, and On's like, he promised you wouldn't have any more, and he didn't. But the guys kept pressuring him, and so now he's drunk. Altan is there to help out. He doesn't know it's Taishun. And he's like, hey guys, go away. And he's all like, huh. And the guys are like, oh, bye. And Anna's like, oh, I see you don't need your weapons to like scare people. He's like, haha, who says I need weapons? Hey, is your friend okay? He's like, yeah, can you help me get him up? So they're taking Taishun somewhere, you know, so he can sit down. Hopefully no one recognizes him. And Anna's like, you promised you wouldn't drink anymore. He's like, cousin? Is that you? And Taishun sees Altan, and Altan sees Taishun. He's like thinking, Taishun, she knows him? And she's like, my friend is really drunk. I gotta go. He thinks you're his cousin who he was really close with. He passed away many years ago. It's like, cousin, I swear I didn't want this to happen to you. And she's like, oh, why are you saying this is my cousin? Like, no, let's go. Hey, oh, Lin Shi, come on. We gotta take this guy back to the palace. And because Lin Shi shows up, and Altan connects the dots, like, that's the life stealer. Okay, bye. And he's like, whirlwind happened, people. We were supposed to have a nice night. A whirlwind happened. And that means events are about to go into play, where it's like, we need to leave the capital, but do we trust who we will be paired off with? So again, whirlwind, and I liked it. I was very cautious when this happened, but apparently the Dowager Empress left something for An to reclaim her memories. And we saw how protective her mother was because I guess Xiaoyang knew that he needed to use his daughter as a weapon, so he started trying to train her early. The mother was like, no. And that's how he got his bird. He did not get it from the war. He got it from An's mother from protecting her. So it's like, do we trust the Dowager Empress? Because I still don't, but now we know we can't trust An's father. And now while we're sitting on that, Altan is like thinking about the life stealer and the fact that we have to get Ama, but he's visited by someone wearing a mask, and he's like, yeah, why are you still throwing this stuff at me when Altan's like attacking him? He's like, whoosh, 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 whoosh. And it's like, okay, I got a plan to help us get the life stealer out, and I need you to follow up on your part of the plan. It's like, why? You know, I never listened to you. It's like, that's because I know you don't listen to me, and I need you to listen to me this one time. So I got a plan. This is how it's gonna go down. I help you get the life stealer, you get her out, and things are happening. I need to take care of it, but please follow the plan. And then Altan's like, no, I will never follow your plan, because when the person leaves who visited him, we see a single streak in his hair. And who has a streak in his hair but Li Yi? So again, it confirms the thing that we know, that Altan knows Li Yi. So we got a plan. And that comes into play because, of course, Han confronts her father, at the same time finding in the hidden compartment that he is the head of the priests, and they finally have their moment. And yeah, he only wanted to use her as a weapon to find the sword, so he locks her up in the dungeon, and she tries to, you know, starve herself, but Li's like, eat your rice slowly. And then she does what he says after a while, and in the rice is a message saying, do not fall asleep. And she's like, okay, I will eat the food because I'm feeling I'm gonna need my energy for this. And she tries to stay awake, and that's when the guards get attacked. And she's thinking, oh, Li Yi, is that you? And no, in the shadows, it's Altan. So the plan was for him to help her get out of the dungeon. But after that, things don't go according to Li Yi's plan. After escaping the capital and not going according to Li Yi's plan, An wants to know if she can trust Altan because she thinks that he's a mercenary that was hired by Li Yi. And he explains the fact. The reason why the priesthood and the Tensei were kind of pitched against each other is because, according to his great-grandfather, he formed the army, and he also formed the priesthood with the Tensei. And those who refused had to die, so they were marked out as the bad guys. So we got info as to why that weird shady thing about the past just didn't sit well. Now we have our answer. Our goal now is to make it to the Emerald Sea because, again, Altan has gone with the story that, yeah, Li Yi had you escape so he can go find the sword. So, you know, I was like, cool, I'll follow you. And we're doing our little journey. We go to a canyon. We get attacked by bandits. Altan manages to keep things up for a while, but we're outnumbered. And An is put in a position where she's afraid for her life, afraid for Altan, and she gets attacked. And she accidentally uses her life-stealing abilities, so she kind of kills the guys. But because with the Phoenix gave him immunity, Altan survives, but he gets hit by a poisoned arrow. At least An gives him the, you know, concoction to help, you know, stop the poison. Not the antidote, but something to keep it from, you know, going and killing the poison itself. And this is the part where in the journey we kind of see the wall between An and Altan slowly fall down, because this gives them a time to actually talk with one another. And this is where we find out, because we're talking about first kills, right? And he sees how much it's tearing An apart, and he says, well, my first kill was accidentally in my sister, because when they were being tracked down and he saw his mother get killed, and we found out that a person with a disfigured upper face was the one that killed, you know, his mom. Altan's abilities not only awakened, but they went out of control, causing a sandstorm. And while the sandstorm was protecting him, his first kill was his sister. And in a way that kind of breaks the tension between them, because of course An said, hey, I didn't know we were competing. And of course he gets a nice little chuckle, and they start to form a friendship. So I kind of like that as they're going on. They kind of, you know, talk, go along, and I enjoyed that part of this book. That's how I was able to understand how their friendship would kind of slowly turn into something else, because they finally went over that threshold, like, cool, we're talking things out. We arrived in town to wait for Master Sun, who was getting Ama, and of course that's when An dressed up as a boy, so we're like, cool, we can walk out in public. But that's also when we find out that an Imperial Decree went out to recruit any man or boy who can wield a sword regardless of their age. And we see a boy being taken from his mother, and we're thinking, yeah, the Dowager Empress wouldn't want to do this because we're supposedly okay out of a war, we're getting ready for another one, so why would they be this desperate? And that's when we find out the Imperial Decree was sent out by An's father. So things are getting, tense in the kingdom. But that's also when we get to see Amma. We're reunited with her. Yay! We also have a moment with Master Sun, who's like, An tried serving him tea. He's like, is it good or anything? And he's like, it's really good. It's okay. And she's like, well, this lifestyle thing doesn't work out. I can make tea for you and be your assistant. And of course, Altan walks in. He's like, what are y'all doing? Because he's like, get a little jealous. And Master Sun's like, oh, An here's just asking for a proposition to be my tea maker, and since you have no interest in that, I decided to take her on her proposition. And An's like, ha ha ha. And Altan's like, the other of the animals have dinner with us. Bye. And she's like, you're jealous. And I enjoyed that. That was really cute. That was really funny. But while An went to go get, Amma to see if she's okay, she kind of missed the room. And she was like hearing these people talking about getting a young Master Li. I thought this was going to be important, but it's not. But through them, we find out that where the priests are being, stationed, camps and stuff, and where they're holding the recruits. And we know the fact that the boy was taken from the mother is still eating away at Altan, that An's like, yeah, I know you're gonna go do something stupid, because he's about to do something stupid that night. He's like, hey, I overheard the conversation. And he's like, why is that important? He's like, well, because I know the priests are being camped, so I have to come with you to make sure you know where you're going. So, okay, mission impossible. We are going to go rescue the boy that was stolen from the mother. But we hit a kink in the road because the recruits were sent out early. We went there for nothing. But you know what? Altan sees his mother's murderer, aka An's father, who sees him too. It's like, don't! We only came here for a rescue mission. We're not equipped for anything else. But at the same time, we found important information that, means that they found the location of the inn. So while An and Altan rush to the inn, it's on fire. Amma is stolen by a priest, and Master Sun is fighting off the priest, and An wants to help, but she's too afraid. Altan wants to help, but he knows he has to protect An, so they leave Master Sun behind. They come back in the morning, enough to see Master Sun for his final moments, and that really messes up Altan. But I'm like, I really wanted to see Master Sun more in action. But no, with his death, it kind of breaks Altan, but An brings him back, saying we have to find the sword to, make this world a better place. That's what Master Sun would have wanted. And as we're going on, we meet up with Tongwei, and she is the life of the party that we needed, because everything goes back in a chick groove. Even when Tongwei's pretending to be, An's sibling, keep up the ruse, and Altan is the bodyguard, and they're just like teasing each other and everything. And they have like a moment where they do like the ceremony thing where they have tea to remember Master Sun. I'm like, dang it. And we're making our way to the Emerald Sea, and Li shows up. He says, yeah, this wasn't the plan, and I don't need you to get on the ship to the Emerald Sea because things are adding a bit archives. Things are weird, so don't get on the boat. And she's like, but Altan said that. He's like, oh, I'm pretty sure he said that. And when Altan shows up, and he's like, what the hell, Jin? And that's where we reveal the fact that, Altan is Jin. And Li's like, yeah, and why do you think he wants you to find the sword? And that trust that we have built between Altan and An is broken. Thank you, Li. I get that you are mad that things didn't go according to plan, but that's not the way you do it. And this doesn't help the fact that Tongwei shows up saying, yeah, priests are coming. They come. Li yeets out of there because like no one knows that he's helping them, and they're fighting. Tongwei gets hurt, and at that moment, An accepts the light stealer in her, kills the priests, and then she finally feels the tug of the sword. And Tongwei makes it. We get to a safe house. The Lotus heals her and she's like, I am still going with y'all. No matter how injured I am. Because you know, you cannot do this without me. And An really appreciates the fact that, you know, Tongwei's coming. But because of that, her and Altan are not on talking matters. Even though they said, I'm getting on the boat with you. I'm really sorry. She's like, cool, I don't care what you do now. And we're on the way to the Emerald Sea. It's like stress is high. We've been out to sea. An's not doing so well because she's having nightmares of, you know, the people she's killed. And of course, you know, a captain lets a few wise words to Altan since he knows who he really is. Say maybe that's why, you know, your great-grandfather went mad. Maybe because he was haunted by the spirits that were never able to rest because we're going to the Dragon's Triangle and unrested spirits are there, so stuff is happening. It's basically like, you know, the Bermuda Triangle there, but we make it to sea. We get to the triangle and we are attacked by illusions and undead souls that could not rest. And that is when An is pulled into a dreamlike state, into a realm of a sacred beast of a long, aka a dragon. That's like, oh, life stealer, you have returned. Like, I never met you. It's like, you are all the same life stealers. You're here for this. And he shows the sword. It's like, it fell into my realm. It is not mine. But if you take it, you might as well see what your predecessor did last. And the dragon shows on what happened with Yunlong. We see that he killed himself, but at the same time, Altan's great-grandfather had used the obsidian sword to raise an army of undead, of both undead and the people that were sworn to the sword to become undead souls, to attack the enemies. And so the dragon's like, the sword will not be controlled. And An wakes up because Altan did get her. She gets out of the dream realm, but the sword is with her. But we get a reason why Li was like, something's not right. Because the sword is not the white jade sword. It's the obsidian sword. The same sword that Altan's grandfather, Yunlong, used to conquer the world and went mad. So, Li Yi, help! It doesn't help the fact that we get attacked by warships from a neighboring kingdom that was supposed to help us but backstabbed us. And we see An use the obsidian sword. She goes like, I shall smite thee. And lightning falls and she goes, Hiya, Bankai. And destroys the ships and everything. It's like, this is the power of the life sword and the obsidian sword put together. This could be a problem. But we realize we need a plan because we now know what Xiaoyang wants to use the sword for. Raise the army of the undead and attack the enemies and use the life stealer to do that. So, okay, we got a plan. We'll contact Li Yi. We'll make it seem like, you know, things happen. I wanted to honor father and get the respect back and feel sorry and all that stuff and give him the sword, but keep an eye and see what things are going and just attack when the moment is right. Of course, Altan's not comfortable with this, but like, hey, this is the only plan we got. Yeah, it has holes in it, but it's like, this is the only we got, so fine, I'll go with it. So we have a plan. We contact Li Yi and we sell the story and Xiaoyang buys it, but we're gonna buy our time for a while, and Lin Shi is in our corner. So An is not really away from allies because, you know, Li is also on our side. And things go downhill from there because while Altan, who's already nervous for the safety of An, he gets a message from Lin Shi, who he thinks this message is very direct. He now knows where the priests are holding Ama, so he goes to rescue her. Things are going a little too swell until he gets to the dungeon, and it's not Ama, it's someone else, and he gets knocked out. As well, at the same time, An is kind of paralyzed right now, and we have a moment with the Dowager Empress. And she's like, yes, I had a little too much time on my hands, so, you know, I read those dusty scrolls. And imagine my surprise when I found out that the Jade and Obsidian sword are one and the same, meaning the blood of Yunlong when he killed himself with the sword is what tainted the sword, and only the blood of the descendants of the former life stealer, the former emperor, can revive it back to its former glory. Oh yes, Taishun, he is not a blood relative, so that means you have to kill your father because he's going to use the power. And oh, by the way, you got to have Altan die to fix the sword and marry my son because I know everyone's gonna try to power grab him, and that's why my husband was easy to control. But hey, I will both give you the antidote and allow you to become empress, so think about it. So a lot of things are going according to plan, including the fact that the Dowager Empress knows where Altan is and lets On know that. So stakes are high now. Because nothing is going according to plan. On is taken to her father in the middle of the night because things are going downhill. At the same time, Altan is in a cell, about to be buried by sand, and that's very traumatic for him because what happened with him and his sister in his past. But before that could happen, Taishun appears, saves him. It's like, yeah, I overheard everything because he saw that his mom snuck in to go speak to An. So, like, when they were kids, he snuck in the rafters, overheard everything, including the fact that he is not a blood relative, but, he stole the cousin to Altan, whether he likes it or not. Team up. We are here for a team up. I don't know what's going on, but you need my help. I need your help. We need to figure out what's going on. So we have the reunion between Taishun and Altan, and it is beautiful, people. Xiaoyong knows that An and Li Yi were lying because he had seen Li steal his scroll that led to the Emerald Sea and saw it was a fake. So he's letting things play out, and he knows that An's playing around because they caught Li Yi. They tortured him, beat him up real bad, and now they are using him to make An create the Army of the Dead. He also brings out Ma, and it's like, yeah, make the Army of the Dead. And so she feels like she has no other choice. But at that moment, before she can do that, turn all the soldiers into the Army of the Undead, the Lotus Sect attack! Tong Wei saves Ma! And because, Altan and Taishun are on, good sides, and they also got the Dowager Empress to spill the beans on everything. Altan shows up because Tong Wei's not really a fighter. He helps out. He kills Xiaoyong because he still wanted An to use the weapon, and he caught her. But, there's this thing about him not being able to curve arrows, and he's like, I shall curve the arrow one day. And I was like, I don't believe you. And Tong Wei's like, just do it already. Well, now the moment happens. Altan uses his curve arrow abilities. He shoots Xiaoyong, who lets go of An before falling over the wall into the down-about. And she sees that, that moment of realizing when she gets the obsidian sword, she remembers that in the story, in the memory that the dragon showed her, that it was the blood of Yunlong who had tainted the sword. Meaning, it doesn't exactly have to be the descendant of the former emperor. It could be a next life stealer that can heal the sword back to what it once was. So while we think, okay, everything is safe, and Altan's like, you're okay, you're safe. She's like, yeah, I love you. And she pushes him away. And she does the same thing that, Yunlong did. She stabs herself, and with the blood and her death, and poor Altan, who saw that happen, and him and Li Yi uses their last amount of strength to do like a fire tornado lasso to stop the priests from attacking. The sword with the blood of the life stealer returns back to the Jade sword. But I guess An filled in the criteria because this was the death that the Phoenix mentioned that would break Altan. He thought it was Master Sun, but no, it was the death of An that kind of broke him. Well, I guess that checked the box because the Phoenix shows up to An and asks for anything. She says she wishes those that she loves is taken care of, and I guess I meant that revive me because the Phoenix does revive An. And we end off the story with Altan getting ready for his coronation with Taishun on this side because he's like basically his right-hand man now. He's doing the archiving, he's taking care of the medicine, and he's like, hey, did you know in the archives I found out that music could be used for cultivating purposes to help heal people. And it's like, I'm already cool with the flute, so I'm like thinking, the founding of the Lan sect, it happens now. And there's Li Yi, and there's Tong Wei, and Lin Shi, who was being tortured by the Empress, but she's like, cool and everything. And Tong was like, wow, many of my Lotus Sect sisters were hurt and died. I guess I have to take compensation. Hey, these rooms look nice. And Altan's like, when are they going away? And Li Yi's like, hey, did I mention the time that Altan did something really stupid? Because he's like, why are you here? And everyone's like looking at Altan. He's like, what? Yes, it's the winter solstice, and we're getting ready for the coronation that's gonna happen in a few weeks. And they're like, you're so stupid. He's like, And everyone like just sees the Emperor runs and he skids to the hall. It's your birthday! And there's An and Ama just, out in the cold looking at this tree that is gonna blossom one day. And it's like, we should celebrate. And she's like, I'm gonna leave the palace. Like, why? And she's like, legal, who we haven't seen in this whole book since part 1. We're gonna go see if my father's right, because we think her mom might be alive. We don't know, but we gotta go find out either way. And An wants to go, see that. And Tom's like, well, I am your emperor. We can bring legal here and look. And it's like, you're not emperor yet. So they just have this cute little banter. He's like, I love you. And she's like, yeah, I know. You just really understand. He's like, but I just told you. He's like, yeah, because Tong Wei was being really funny about that. And he does the, I just bore my heart out to you. She's like, if you bore your heart out to me, you would be dead. So they had that cute little banter. And just like, she's trying to say, yeah, I do love you still. And she's like trying to be very, poetic about that. She's not getting through to him. And she's like, oh, for heaven's sakes. And she kisses him. And he's like, oh. So they kiss back. And, in the peanut gallery, it's like, woo! And he uses his abilities, like, cause a shield of snow. And they have their cute little moment. So I'm thinking, cool. Happy ending. Until we get an epilogue. Far out in another country, and there's this woman with a eagle, basically, hunting with her eagle, and she gets a report from someone, and it's saying she returned back and reclaimed the throne and everything. And she's like, oh, I guess we shall be leaving now. And we confirm the identity of the new emperor. She's like, yes. It's like, I guess I shall reclaim the throne that is mine from the boy who was once my brother, who is now emperor. Sarangero, who is Altan's sister, who died in the sandstorm, is alive. And we know through flashbacks, she was more tactical and ruthless and determined to take and keep and protect what is hers. So if she had been the son, she would have been the right choice as heir. And now she's coming back for the throne, which she believes is hers. And from what it sounds like, she has no problems of killing the new emperor. And that's where we end with spoilers. So yes, people, a lot happened in book 1. I hope there's a book 2. Because that ending with Sarangero, who is Altan's sister, that can make for a very dangerous foe. A very interesting next book. But as you can see, I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the characters, the side characters especially. Altan and An, they had a journey, so to say. The big baddie, again, I felt was kind of defeated a little too easy. And I sniffed the suspicious early on. Again, the one thing that really got to me is the quick change of heart that An had when she found out she had a family. And the writing style that it took to where it felt really like I was reading from a different person. I didn't enjoy that. But besides that, everything else from the lore, the legend, the phoenix, the dragon, the journey that our characters went on, the arcs that they had in that, ending, I really enjoyed it. I liked how this is going. Please let there be a book 2, people. I beg upon thee. And again, if y'all like, the Untamed, Word of Honor, again, that info dumpy of 1,000 Atoms, this is a fun book to check out, people. It has that Chinese drama feel with the touch of Avatar, The Last Airbender, with the abilities, the twisty and the turnies, the things keeping you, I'm very sus of this people, of this character, of what's going on. That is very chill. I enjoyed the journey from A, B, and C. Nice little arc, nice good story for a season 1, I believe. So if we get season 2, aka book 2, that is going to be insane because this new character, Altan's sister, I have a feeling she is the person that we must be careful of. But all in all, I enjoyed the book, I enjoyed the journey, and I am happy with it. Please let there be a book 2, people, please. Jade Fire Gold by June C. Altan. 3 out of 5 stars. My name is Sarah, and bye!